What is the biggest fail date you have ever had? I went out with a guy who wore the puffy shirt from Seinfeld. I swear this was the same shirt. I looked beyond that. Or at least tried to. And continued with the date. He later had a meltdown in his car because I said hello to a male friend we had seen while we were at a coffee shop and laughed when he told a story to me. He said my laugh was asshole towards him and that he shouldn't have fallen for me so quickly and wouldn't have if he'd known I'd cheat on him so fast. He was crying really hard the whole way back to my house. It was the most awkward car ride home ever. We never talked again. Holy shit. Met her at the rec center. Next day we met to play racquetball. I hit her in the face. Twice. Did not get a second date. With the ball or the racket? The distinction is important. The summer after graduating from high school I went on a date with a girl I had been friends with for a while. We decided to go to a fair a few towns over. We walk around. Eat some fried foods. Go on a ride or two. Things were going great and many laughs were had. We then went on a ride similar to a zipper salt and pepper shaker. Lots of spinning upside down and so on. About halfway through the ride the funnel cake I had earlier decided that it did not want to remain in my stomach. With her sitting next to me I commence throwing up. And then we flip upside down. And my barf comes right back at my face. I had enough sense to keep most of it away from her. As she emerged from the ride puke free. I did not. We have now been dating for over 6 years. Are currently engaged and will be married next summer. Met a girl on an online dating website. Seemed normal enough. Take her out to dinner for our second date. After having good conversation on different topics she casually says I don't usually show people this so early. She then proceeds to pull out a book where all the pages are frayed. I'm like, oh cool, what book is that? It was something I can't even remember, but the next thing she said was I eat paper. And I eat this book. I tried to play it as normally as I could and asked her questions about it. Ended the date with a hug. Now that I think about it, it wasn't the real deal breaker. But still. What the FCK? I went on a date with a Redditor. We met up. Got dinner. Saw a movie. And went back to my place to just hang out and chat. Long story short. He got on my computer. Got on Reddit. And 1 awkward hour later, I drove him home. Y'all. If you aren't impressed with a date, just let them know. Don't Reddit at their house awkwardly and act really weird. No bueno. Redditor wife on the first date. My friend R set me up with a blind date. We were going to go double dating with him and his girlfriend. Talks me up on how hot she is and how she looks like my type. Later on, after getting some pizza and soda, I meet my so-called hottie. It was my cousin. We looked at each other and just started laughing. Never had R set me up again. I went on a date with a girl. Crashed at her house after no hanky panky. And was woken up by her irate Hispanic boyfriend at about 7:00 am the next morning. The odds of that happening are 1 in a million. Things were going good. I mean real good. The city was celebrating its glorious playoff victory. The local heroes were 1 win closer to winning the Stanley Cup. Women were, shall I say, juiced about the victory. Liquor was fueling the celebration and breaking down inhibition barriers. Enter me. Enter her. Me. So. Pretty fun night. Huh? Yeah. Too bad the bar's closing soon. Me. Yeah. Huh? I have my friend's place to myself tonight. Want to come over? Me. Wait. What? 30 minutes later. Kiss. Kiss. Hug. Hug. Huh? Do you have a condom? Me. No. Huh? There is a store up the road. Here are my keys. Bye now. XXX me. Okay. 30 minutes later. Ah. Where did she live again? Fuuuak. Let's keep this short and simple. Went home with a girl I met at a bar. As I was leaving her apartment, She introduces me to her roommate. My ex. My very first date ever. We went to see The Passion of the Christ. Asterisk. Edit. We were 16. I don't remember whose idea it was. But the cloud of shame and humility with which we walked back to the car afterward was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Kiss at the end of the night. HA. I don't even think we made eye contact again until we saw each other at school the next week. Met a guy on the bus. He asked me out on a date. I was apprehensive about it, but I thought I should keep an open mind. We went out a bar for our first date. I was trying to keep it casual, so I met him there and purchased my own drink at the bar before he got there. He then made me pay for his drink because he just didn't bring any money. Then he kept urging us to leave the bar. Yet he didn't have plans for where we should go. I suggested we go for a walk. He wouldn't let me talk throughout the walk because he kept forcibly kissing me, touching me even when I said no. At the end of the date I stepped on a roadkill possum, and that was less disgusting than Grabby McKinsey sticking his tongue down my throat. Edit. I didn't bring a drink with me to the bar. I got to the bar first and bought myself a drink. Set up with a guy who talking about how much he hated his baby mama within the first 5 minutes of the date. He threatened to punch the waitress in the nose because he didn't get enough sauce with his food. Then asked me to go to the parking lot and do drugs with him. Not entirely a fail, but something out of the ordinary. Especially in our age. I met this girl at college. She was one beautiful girl. And I even joined a choir to get to know her better. I felt good chemistry between us. And even our mutual friends noticed the reaction between us. Eventually, I built up the courage to ask this girl out on a date. Things seemed to be going fine until the end of the date. She told me she was planning on becoming a nun. TL. DR. I got cock-blocked by God. She told me she was planning on becoming a nun. I bet she really wasn't. Sorry dude. Picked her up at her house. Proceeded to narrowly miss running over a turtle only to run over a baby squirrel 100 yards further down the road. I knew the date was doomed from the very beginning, but that baby squirrel put the final nail in the coffin. Where the hell do you live that turtles and squirrels are filling the road? I'm really scared that somewhere in this thread there's a story about me. I went on a date with a Bizzle girl to a strip club. Her idea. We were actually pretty close, had been on a few dates and things were starting to get serious. She went to use the washroom. I decided to go have a smoke when she was taking too long. I saw her making out with the guy who was sitting in pervert row a few minutes ago. I decided to leave her there and never spoke to her again. Met a girl online. On Yahoo about 10 years ago. We exchange pics. Everything is looking good. We get to talking about various nonsense online, and she asserts that she can beat anyone at Scrabble. I knew I was being baited for a date, so I challenge her to a game and she invites me over to her place. I get there and she's a good 100 pounds heavier than she was in her picture. Also, her house, as she had called it, is not a house. It is a trailer in a trailer park. She has no table on which to play Scrabble, so we play on the floor. She has no drinks to offer me other than a bottle of Sam's Club bottled water. I obliterated her at Scrabble twice. She begged me to stay and have sex with her. I did not. A normal person would just leave. A real man stays to obliterate at Scrabble. Met this totally unbelievably hot woman and asked her out. She accepts and decides she wants to go ice skating. Awesome. I'd been ice skating once. When I was 6. How hard can it be after a gazillion years? So we skated. I didn't fall once. Well. Until after an hour and it was time to clear the ice. Broke my wrist. Then she wanted to grab dinner. Excellent. She must like me. I ate using one hand through the entire dinner. No problem. Almost ready to leave and my wrist is killing me. Movie? Sure. FCK. Okay. Make sure she sits away from my broken wrist since it's a horror flick and she might grab my arm. So the date ended at 1 AM or so. I stopped by a friend's for some painkillers and he says, "Whoa. I think your arm is broken." So next stop. Yeah. Yep. 3 fractures on my radius. 1 year later we were married and lived happily ever after. I took a girl on a second date. The first had gone well enough. So I took her to a play. I took her to see a live version of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. She left halfway through because, as it turned out, she was a homophobe. I stayed for the rest of the show. It was really well done. But I still felt like a bit ol' loser. Edit. I know I'm not actually a loser. She was a stupid homophobe. I'm just saying that the crowd saw her storming out and then I sat there. They didn't know why she left. Plus, Actors Express in Atlanta in 2004-ish did a great job with Hedwig and I wasn't leaving in the middle. 5 years out of high school I asked a girl I had a crush on way back in high school to come stay with me in Toronto for a weekend. We grew up in London. She took the bus up and we hung out all day. I showed her the sights. Took her out for a nice dinner. Eventually returning to my place to watch a movie she had brought with her. Short bus. Finally end of the night and we're heading to bed. Brush our teeth etc. Get into bed and snuggle up. I figure at this point deal sealed. So I lean in for a kiss and she flies back and yells, "What the hell are you doing?" Confused I asked "What do you mean what am I doing?" She replies, "I thought you knew." I respond, "Thought I knew what exactly?" Finally she blurts out, "I'm gay." Full stop. Still had to hang out with her all the next day. So awkward. I was at the movies on a first date. Or second. And the girl had Tootsie Rolls. She offered me one. And I declined. She ate one. And then leaned in to kiss me. I thought, oh, she's going to pass me a Tootsie Roll. How was I? So I bit it. Except it was her tongue. Mine is the one where she didn't show up. I once ended up on a date with the girl who slept with my best friend's husband. Destroying her marriage. I really wish I could understand the sentiment that the person not in a relationship is somehow responsible for infidelity. I can't and I fear that makes me a terrible person. Set up on blind date. The woman had a mustache. Mustache. A mother effing mustache. The ones I didn't ask her to. Because I was scared. Went on a date with a friend of my cousin. We went to see a movie, Lethal Weapon 3, and she bought a large popcorn and loaded it with that fake butter flavored crap. I realized on the ride home that the butter flavor does not agree with me. I dropped her off at her house and as soon as I got in my car, I couldn't hold it anymore. I shit my pants so bad that I actually rose up about 2 inches. And as I'm sitting there, she comes running back over to the car to give me another kiss goodnight. All the while the shit is dripping out of the legs of my shorts all over the floor. She sticks her head in the window and when she smells it, she gags and proceeds to puke in my lap. Never did get a second date. I had been in a relationship for 2 years in high school. We broke up. And I just started dating a distant friend of the ex. We had been dating for like 2 weeks, mostly just me driving him around and buying him breakfast before school, and he had me in his car in the parking lot after school one day because he said he had to talk to me. So, I'm sitting there, and he says, "I want to sing you a song." He pulls out this piece of paper with the lyrics to Casey and JoJo's All My Life. He starts singing the baby, 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 baby in the beginning. I tell him to stop because that was the song of my ex and I. He gets embarrassed and ends up eating the piece of paper. Like, crumpled it up, put it in his mouth, and swallowed it. It was weird. TL. Doctor started dating dude who tried to sing me a love song. Told him it was weird. He literally ate the song. I was drinking at a bar, just turned 21. And there was this cute older woman who was hitting on me and playing pool with me. We went back to her place that night and we hooked up. In the morning, I was sitting on the sofa watching TV while she was using the bathroom and whatnot. and her son walked in. I knew him. I'd played football with him. He went to high school with me. I never talked to her again. Awkward. Met a girl online about 10 years ago. Picked her up at the train station. She had cauliflower ear. Dropped her off at the very next station. Feel like an asshole to this very day. Edit. I should add that this was in Tokyo, where bitches commute by train. I imagined the next station being like a silent 1-minute drive away. Hilarious. Suuta kinda honing on the central thesis here. TL. DRH, she was actually way fatter in person. First date with woman I met online. She was attractive. Buddies had given me some condoms as a joke, and I had thrown them in the glove box of the car. Wasn't planning on getting any on the first date. As I'm driving her back to her car, the glove box pops open and the box of condoms falls in her lap. Never heard from her again. First anniversary with my current girlfriend. We were in Seoul together and, against my personal interests, was making the date as stereotypically Korean as I could. Well, I would have done, if I'd even got to that point. I'd taken her out to an Italian restaurant where we had a lovely meal with a couple of glasses of wine. Whilst walking to get a taxi, she decides that being sick is the best course of action. Whilst I run into a pharmacy and get something to ease her stomach. The rest of the night was romantically spent holding her hair out of her face when she vomited. We're still together. 5 years later. Midway through dinner, thinking everything was going well, I decided to tell her I played Magic the Gathering. I was hanging out with this guy I had met from work and really liked at my house. We were asking each other questions. Just getting to know each other more outside of the work setting. At one point he gets a cheeky look and asks me if I've ever kissed a girl. I'm bisexual. So I reply yes. He looks surprised at how nonchalantly I responded. And pressed further. When I told him that I was bi, he was silent for a long 5 minutes. Silently got up. And just left. 2 days later he called me to ask me out on another date. Just like nothing had gone wrong. I told him I'd rather gouge my eyes out with a rusty spoon than go out with him ever again. I went on a date with a girl in college who I really wanted to sleep with. Turns out my attraction was only physical. And I couldn't even make it through dinner without wanting to kill myself out of sheer boredom. I finally just said I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your time or mine. This isn't going anywhere, and then left to meet my friends at the bar. Edit for clarification. I'm not saying that she was boring me to death. We just didn't have much in common. It probably wasn't much fun for her either. I was just trying to save us from having to lie to each other. Lemon law. It's going to be a thing. Ops. That kind of honestly is refreshing. High school. The girl offered to pick me up because she had just gotten her driver's license and permission to use her parents' car. Cool with me. I like not driving. So she picks me up, and about a mile from my place, a raccoon runs out and she obliterates it. I felt the thing thump hard right under my feet. So this chick's eyes go wide and she stares straight ahead silently for the next 2 miles until we get to a stoplight. So I decided to break the silence and said poor Ricky. At which point she freaks the FCK out, screaming, crying, punching me. Finally, she just kicks me out of the car and burns rubber down the street. For about a block when she runs into a parked car. Being a good guy, I run to make sure that she's not injured. She wasn't. But when she sees me, she starts punching me again and screeching about how it's all my fault that she ran into a car. I just walked back home and watched some TV. She never spoke to me again. Set up a date by phone. We meet. Turns out I had the wrong number. Huge fail for the first and only blind date I ever went on. And it was entirely my fault. Everything is going well. And then, for whatever reason, I could not stop talking about Harry Potter. I don't know why. But I went on. For ages. And I knew. I knew that I sounded ridiculous, but I just couldn't stop myself. It probably would have put off even the most die-hard fan. And needless to say, he never called. Went on a date with a girl I met online. Seemed cute, funny, etc. About 30 minutes into our conversation at the bar, it turns out we're related. Went to the same family reunions as kids and whatnot. I think someone eventually realized we were fifth cousins or something like that. FCK living in Missouri. I went out with this guy. We went to Denny's. I should have known right there it was bad. But I have the tendency to look for the best in people. The waitress comes over and he asks if they serve alcohol. I am ready to leave at this point, but bear it a little longer. Part of me just wants to see where this could possibly go, from a humor standpoint, not a relationship standpoint. I then notice a house key tied on a shoestring around his neck. He orders a bunch of food and I say I'm not hungry since I plan on bailing really soon. It's time to pay. He pulls out this Hello Kitty Velcro wallet with one credit card in it and that's it. It's not even his. I paid for his meal and left. I don't know what I was thinking.